I want to take you back almost a decade, all the way back to 2015, the PlayStation E3 showcase. Back then, I was just a 14-year-old boy, a big PlayStation fan, a big video game fan, and I got hyped every single year for E3, as did most people, specifically the Sony presentation, which always promised to be a major event with huge reveals. 2014 was no different. We got first looks at massive games like Horizon Zero Dawn, we got looks at a brand new Hitman game, a crazy inventive game called Dream, we also got the big reveal of Shenmue 3, an awesome demo for Uncharted 4. The conference had everything and left me feeling revitalized in my love for gaming, but there was one moment throughout the entire presentation that truly stood out to me. Not just as a fan of PlayStation, not just as a fan of gaming, but just as a human. There was a moment that was so huge and so crazy and so special that I wanted to understand it better. It's a moment that I couldn't connect with on a personal level, a moment that I didn't really truly understand at all, but one that for some reason just left a massive impact on me. It's truly one of my favorite gaming conference moments ever, despite me never having played the game that it was, kind of hyping up. Now, this is a moment that began with a new trailer. One that started out like any other cinematic trailer that you get from these big conferences. One that was very movie-like. Beautiful visuals, a mysterious voiceover, and suspenseful music. There was something different here, though. The crowd, with every beat of music, every new shot, every new moment, the crowd began cheering and cheering louder than I had ever heard at a gaming event ever. And the trailer goes on and on and on and ramps up, reaching a final climactic moment, a reveal, a music hit, and the crowd lost their shit. The reveal of a brand new Final Fantasy remake, specifically a remake of Final Fantasy VII, a game that I had never played. A game I had never played from a series that I have no connection to, because guess what? At this point, I hadn't played any of them. But here I was, a 14-year-old Call of Duty fan, watching this press conference and being completely hypnotized, not only by the trailer, which looked stunning, but by this reaction, this stunning reaction from these fans who were losing their minds like this was the greatest thing that had ever occurred in the history of gaming for them. It was kind of magical. I wanted to share in their happiness. I wanted to understand why these people were so excited, because I was so hypnotized by why this reaction came out the way that it was. I wanted to understand these people, so I promised myself, when this game eventually came out, Final Fantasy VII Remake, that I would be playing it. That I will be there to experience it, to see what all of this hype is about. And then 6 years passed. 2020, Final Fantasy VII Remake finally releases after the big reveal that it was actually going to be split into 3 separate games, 3 parts. It was shown at multiple different E3s, multiple different events, so many delays, but a lot of hope, a lot of promise. It finally came out in early 2020, in the heart of the COVID-19 pandemic. And honestly, because it released during COVID, I just kind of missed it. I completely forgot about it. It sort of went under my radar. When it released, I did see the reviews. I saw that a lot of people loved it. There were some mixed reviews to it. And for me at the time, I was just kind of losing interest in that moment back in 2015. I just didn't feel those same emotions, that same drive to play it. So I skipped it. Instead, I looked forward to The Last of Us Part 2 and some of the other great games that came out in 2020. But then 3 years later, back in 2023, actually only about 4 or 5 months ago, I decided to pick up a copy of Final Fantasy XVI, this massive, epic Final Fantasy adventure, a game that I originally also had no interest in, but I had seen some story synopsis that had gotten me really interested. So I bought the game, I put about 45 hours into the game, and I loved every moment of it. And the only thing I was feeling after finishing Final Fantasy XVI is, god dang, I want to play some more Final Fantasy. I want to see if the other games are as good. So my first thought after realizing that was to remember that fateful night in 2015, that night of seeing those fans go crazy, the night of seeing all of those people so excited for this remake, and I remembered, that remake came out. It's ready for me to play. It's right there. So what did I do? I bought the game, guys. I bought the game, and I have played it. I've played all 30 hours of it now, and I got one thing to say when it comes to Final Fantasy VII. I get it. Final Fantasy VII Remake is one of the most magical gaming experiences I have ever had in my entire life. It's a game that found a way to make me feel strong nostalgia for a childhood experience that I never actually had. Like, it had me feeling warm and fuzzy like it was Christmas morning, slowly unwrapping the gifts that Papa Final Fantasy had brought me. Like, I was just so in love with this. It's a game that hooked me into its incredibly smart combat system, its incredible world, its amazing characters, and its epic-spanning narrative that finds a way to feel so intimate but also kind of huge at the same time, while never forgetting to be personal. It's a game that left me wanting more and more in the best way a part 1 could ever do. It felt akin to something like Star Wars A New Hope, you know, bleeding into the start of this trilogy and the hope that the next movie or the next game could be even better. This game and the experience that I had with it was absolutely perfect. Well, nearly perfect. To really discuss this game, I have to break it into sections. As a writer myself and a sucker for cinematic structure, I'll break this video down into 3 distinct parts, discussing the beginning of the story, the middle, and of course, the end of this entire experience. I really want to outline how somebody like me, somebody who's never experienced the original Final Fantasy VII, somebody who has never experienced really any of the original Final Fantasy games, how somebody like that actually feels about a game like Final Fantasy VII Remake after playing it, how this game is presented to somebody like me, who doesn't have nostalgic connections to these characters, to this world, to this series, and kind of discuss how I still was able to love it, and maybe why you would love it if you played it, or maybe try to understand you better if you already loved it before the game ever came out. So yeah. But to do this, there will be spoilers ahead in this video as I discuss my playthrough of this game. So be prepared. I gotta talk about spoilers. I cannot talk about this without spoiling the game. So if you haven't played it, I'm sorry, but go play it. It's amazing. So do be prepared. To talk about Final Fantasy VII, whether it's the original game or the remake, the first thing you have to mention is the fantastic opening. This game has one of the greatest openings ever in, like, anything. Final Fantasy VII Remake delivers one of the most cinematic and gorgeous openings in the history of modern gaming. An opening that introduces you to the world of Midgar, the tone and atmosphere of that world. Some of the characters as well that we will grow to love are shown here, and of course, the music. The goddamn music, man. The camera pans intimately throughout different sectors of the sprawling city of Midgard, only to close in on a mysterious girl we later come to know as Aerith. The music is magical, calm, but also revealing. We quickly pull back and get a look at just how massive the world of Midgar is, this world that we'll be exploring over the next 30 hours. And before we can even take in the complete and utter glory of it all, we crash in to frame. The music turns into an epic battle theme before the protagonist, our brooding and badass Cloud, emerges from the train with his gigantic sword like the badass he is. This is cinema. And this is how you open a game. It captures just about every emotion, every feeling you will have over the next 20 to 30 hours within a 5-minute cutscene. And then we have the actual game. Essentially, Final Fantasy VII is just about this dude, Cloud, who joins up in kind of this terrorist group who are really kind of like the good guys, called Avalanche, as you take on this evil, you know, terrible corporation, this mega corporation that's destroying the world called Amazon, or Apple, or BlackRock? No, Shinra. There we go, Shinra. The game obviously gets a lot deeper than that. The story goes a lot deeper and bigger than that, but that's the basic setup. You're fighting bad guys who are destroying the planet. Simple enough, right? And Chapter 1 is fucking crazy. You're immediately thrown into this gigantic fight, battling your way through this factory-like setting, trying to destroy and blow up this major reactor that is only one of, I think, like 12 or 13. I'm totally wrong, and I'm gonna get so much shit for that. But it's one of a lot of different reactors that are in Midgard that you want to destroy to essentially save the planet. And you go through and you fight a bunch of goons, and the game throws enough people at you to constantly make you feel like a badass early in the game, but not too many to overwhelm you as you're learning this new amazing combat system. You get to meet all the new members of this Avalanche group, specifically your new party member, your first official party member, Barrett, who's this badass who has a gun for an arm, and he's just such a cool character. He's just an awesome dad. It's pretty much the whole sell with his character. But you make it to the reactor, you blow it up, you feel like a badass, you're saving the world, and then the game immediately pulls you down the ground level. It shows you the results and the consequences of your immediate decisions to blow up this reactor. You see a city on fire, you see people suffering, people scared, terrified, and in that moment you realize that this game is more than just being about fighting the bad guys, destroying the bad guys. It's about the actions you take and whether the consequences actually outweighs the evil that you're fighting against, because the consequences of blowing up that reactor were pretty fucking shit. Oh, and then this motherfucker shows up who, you know, obviously is Sephiroth. I didn't know who that was, but he's pretty cool. This opening chapter is so perfect in every which way. It felt as though I was experiencing a classic 80s sci-fi film for the first time that I had never seen, and I loved every single moment for it. After this chapter, the game definitely slows down. It takes a beat to rest. And personally myself, after that high-paced first chapter, I was kind of hoping the game kept that pace, so I was a little worried when it slowed down. I was a little worried the game was going to get boring. But then you meet Tifa. And goddamn! I think it was the direct goal of the developers to make this character the most attractive animated thing ever created, and I'm gonna shut up now. I'm gonna shut up. Meeting Tifa and exploring the Sector 7 slums after the incredibly action-packed opening sounds like it should be a major break run for the game, but once that music kicks in, my god, that music. I wanted to explore every inch of this small area. I wanted to do every single side mission. I wanted to interact with every NPC. Well, maybe not the one with the weird robot kid. That guy was really, really annoying. This chapter proved to me that this game didn't always have to be epic to work. It could also be very slow and focused, because its characters are so well written and easy to connect with, and so damn hot! Now, all the earlier chapters sort of play out in varying degrees of pace from here on out. You get to know more of your crew members, you plan more attacks on different reactors, there's a really cool bike chase, this chick invites you to eat pizza, then curves your ass.
Psych. How dare you!
These sections are very lighthearted, but they're very balanced between combat, you know, epic big battles, but also slow character moments that are fun and kind of lighthearted. You go from like awesome bike battles to like some kind of cringy anime stuff that still ends up being fun, but there's a nice, neat balance here. These early chapters fly by like a breeze, ramping up to another major moment where you have a big battle with Shinra before Cloud is sent falling down to the lower levels of Midgar, seemingly to his death. And this is where, for me, the game kind of starts making its turn and turning into something surprising and a little bit different, and it really started to hit me how much I loved it. So after the fall, Cloud survives, obviously. He lands on a bed of flowers, and you're awoken to find Aerith, the same strange girl from the opening of the game, and you spend the next chapter traveling the sector with her, getting to know this seemingly insignificant girl that the game keeps insinuating to the player has some sort of mysterious background and purpose. This chapter expands the world, allowing you to directly interact with more people from Midgard, and it was a really nice slowdown from the huge ramp-up of the previous couple hours. All of this leads up to what ended up being my favorite part of the entire game. A section that was so crazy, so hilarious, and so, like, epic, in a way, I think. A section that I just didn't really want to end. It was definitely my favorite part of the game. And of course, I'm talking about Wall Market. It's so great! Wall Market's arc has a simple premise. Tifa is trapped on an evil mob boss type character, and you and Aerith need to go and save her. Simple enough, right? Well, this leads you down a rabbit hole of having to impress different mob-type figures, getting a weird-ass massage, like what was this scene? Fighting in a gladiator-style tournament, which includes a boss fight against a goddamn house. I just want to note, that house kicked my ass so many times. That boss fight took me forever to beat. All of this is surrounded by the best looking section of the game visually. I mean, Wall Market is bright, it's colorful, and it's loaded with interesting things to do, people to meet, and sights to see. By the time this section ramps up into its finale, the game has you doing dance minigames with Cloud, who is now dressed in drag, and my god, how is this as entertaining as it is? This entire section of the game taught me something. Final Fantasy VII understands how to balance serious emotion, aka melodrama, while also delivering a goofy, fun, anime-style experience that keeps the game constantly surprising. You don't know whether each individual chapter will be an emotional ride, dark with sad moments, epic fights and cinematic moments, or if it's gonna be doing some shit like this. This makes the game so much more fun and so much easier to digest that you're not sitting there for 30 hours ingesting, you know, kind of this dark, melodramatic shit, but there's a balance of serious, emotional stuff, but also really goofy, fun anime stuff that is just so damn entertaining. It's why I think this Wall Market section is perfect. It sort of shines a light on what makes this entire game work best, and why this game is so great. After this, though, you spend a couple hours making your way through the sewer system, fighting some ghosts through a train yard, and eventually getting into the next major crescendo moment of the story. A massive battle with Shinra as they plan to drop an entire fucking plate on top of your section of Midgar. Essentially, they want to kill a bunch of people, and you gotta stop them. This chapter is epic, capturing the same heights as the earlier chapters, offering great fights, great visuals, and Awesome music, just incredible music. You jump back and forth between Cloud fighting his way up this massive structure and Aerith who rushes to save Barrett's daughter Marlene. There's a sense of urgency, fighting against the clock, but also moral questions about why Shinra would do all of this. You've grown to care about these characters and for Sector 7, so you want to win this battle. You need to win this battle, and then you don't. You fail, the plate falls, people die, everybody's just very upset, and it's a bad situation that you were not able to prevent. It's such a down moment that sort of serves as the perfect midway point to this story in particular. It feels like the Empire Strikes Back moment, and it transitions us perfectly to the latter half of the game. The third act of this game starts somber. The first couple chapters really just have you sort of sorting through the wreckage of Sector 7, seeing the destruction that occurred due to your failure to beat Shinra. It's a really somber moment that's matched with incredible music. I mean, this section, there's a moment where you're just kind of walking through this town that you had explored before, kind of doing some backtracking stuff, and the music that's played here is maybe the best music in the entire game. It's a great track. But this section is really emotional, and it really allows you to connect with some of the characters more personally than you were earlier in the game. Specifically Cloud and Barrett. They really stand out in these chapters. But the game quickly transitions to its final act, its final new mission, to go and free Aerith, who has been kidnapped by Shinra. Simple enough, right? And honestly, this whole game to this point has been simple. Earlier in the game, the mission was to make money by helping Avalanche. Then it was to free Tifa from Wall Market. Then it was to stop Shinra from completing mass murder. This game gives you very simple tasks and very simple story beats that allow you to really get engaged with the characters in the world before it eventually actually expands into a major epic story in its ending, the story that will make up the foundation for Final Fantasy Rebirth and the eventual third game. But I gotta be honest, these later chapters, they did lose me a tiny bit. You start this early part of the game by climbing up to Shinra HQ. On paper, a mission that sounds really great, and a lot of the moments in the chapter were fun, including having this big battle with this major, flying mech thing, but I started to feel the grind of the combat at this point. Once the game gets you to Shinra HQ, though, the game definitely does start to improve. You have a great chapter here where you get a ton of world building, you get some answers about characters like Sephiroth and what's going on in the world, and you get teases to where we're actually going when it comes to the mega story, the ultimate story of the Final Fantasy VII universe. But once you find and free Aerith, though, you get treated to the worst section of this game, the immediate following chapter. By far the worst couple hours I had spent in Final Fantasy VII. Because after a full hour of the game building up to an epic moment, seeing Sephiroth in the flesh for the first time and potentially about to battle him, your team instead falls to the depths of Shinra HQ and have to fight your way slowly through a maze of puzzles, battles, and other filler-type missions to get back to the top. This section slams the brake hard on the story. I felt like I was fingertips away from finally getting some of the big story moments I've heard fans gushing about since that cinematic reveal back in 2015. But the realization that you have nearly 2 hours of grindy, boring filler ahead before you can actually get to those big moments was devastating at this point and easily the worst part of the game. But once you finish that chapter, yeah, you get to some big moments, don't you? The final two chapters of this game are fucking crazy. They are absolutely insane. It's boss fight after boss fight after boss fight. It starts with you fighting the new president of Shinra, then you have this great bike section, which is awesome. You go and you fight Fate, whatever that means, and then you fight Sephiroth. There's so many boss fights, it's so epic, it's so cool. I didn't understand any of it, though. I gotta be honest, this latter section of this game, these final couple chapters, although they are epic, and although you get these big story moments that you've waited for, I didn't get a lot of it. I didn't understand it, and maybe it's because it's so dense with information. The game throws so much at you at such a short period of time. You get all this information about Sephiroth, who all of these characters just suddenly know and kind of get. You get so much development with Aerith that happens so quickly. New characters are thrown in who you've never seen before, but the game sort of treats them like you're supposed to know who they are. Then the final battle is so crazy and so convoluted, and they bring in separate timelines, and you have moments that I feel like were designed to really be big popping moments for people who had played the original. Big moments that are like, oh my god, they're doing it differently. But for me, somebody who was not familiar with the original story, I was just like, oh, interest. I don't know what's happening, but yeah, I like it.
I don't know what the hell's going on in the most wonderful way.
So this section felt the weirdest of the entire game, because it's the only one that felt like it was feeling the weight of the original game on its shoulders. It stopped being this small, simple, decisive game and just went fucking balls to the wall crazy. And I'm not sure sitting here if I loved it or if I kind of hated it. I'm still not sure, but I know for a fact I definitely want more. And that's the best part about this game that I can really say more than anything. I could talk about how great it was, which I've already have. I could talk about how this ending is divisive for me, and I'm not really sure exactly how I feel about it. Or I could just talk about the main fact of that I want to play more of it, and it ended, and I was sad that it ended, because I couldn't play more of it. And I feel so terrible for the people that played this in 2020, and had to wait 4 years. Because my ass only has to wait 1 week. It's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, baby. Let's fucking go.
I'm not just like the rest of you. I'm stronger. I'm smarter. I'm better.
Final Fantasy VII Remake is a masterpiece, and one I'm still trying to fully grasp. It's an experience that truly felt special to me in this modern video game world, delivering a massive and fascinating world, an incredible cast of characters, a fun combat system, and a story that was both deep and serious with its themes, as well as goofy and hilariously dumb to keep things entertaining. The question I now have for myself is, do I understand why all of those fans were going crazy back at E3? Do I get why they were all so excited for this? Well, I don't know. I don't know if I know for sure at this point, but I know that I'm 1/3 of the way from finding out. There are 2 more games I think I have to play, and then I think I also probably eventually have to play the original Final Fantasy VII to truly get it. But this is a start, and this is a game that is truly magical. It's magnificent. Is it one of my favorite games ever? Yet again, I don't know. I just finished it. It's too soon to say. But it's a game that I've been thinking about all week, ever since I rolled credits on it. It's a game that I've been craving more of. It's these characters that I want to better understand. I want to hang out with them more. I want to fight some of these bad guys some more. I want to see more of this epic world that they've built for us. I am very much invested in it, but I feel like it's incomplete at this point. Therefore, my opinion, if I were to say, oh, I get it now, I understand, I feel like would be invalid, because if I play the next one and I hate it, then no, I don't get it. But if I play the next one and it blows my fucking socks off, then yeah, maybe I'm 2/3 of the way to understanding the actual love for this universe in this game. But maybe when all 3 parts are out, and then 20-something years from now, when they announce at E3 or some events that they're remaking Final Fantasy VII again, maybe I'll be one of the fans going crazy for it, or probably not, but maybe, who knows? Long story short, this game fucking slaps, and it was a great experience, and I recommend it to anybody, whether you've played Final Fantasy or not, because I'm somebody who's only played one other Final Fantasy game, Final Fantasy 16. I am a newbie to this franchise. I'm a noob, and I'm trying to get into it, and I absolutely love this one, and I will be playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth next week, or in a couple days when it comes out. I've already seen the reviews. Apparently it's a masterpiece. I'll be playing it, and I will be making a video like this about that game when I finish it. It might take me some time. I'm going to take my sweet-ass time with the game, because I like to really embrace them and enjoy them. I don't like to fly through them. So it might take me like a month before that video comes out, but I will be making it once I am done with this game. But that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. If you guys enjoyed this kind of longer form essay video breaking down this game, let me know down below. If you're new to this channel, you just scrolled across this. I make videos on movies, TV shows, video games, anything nerdy. I talk about it here. So please subscribe, turn on notifications, and yeah. Click the video on your screen, and I will see you in the next one.